You're tuning into The Deep Dive. Today, we're really focusing in on the AI news that you actually need to know about.
Right, it moves so fast.
Exactly. So think of this as your quick download on the key stuff shaping AI right now. We've gone through the headlines, the blogs, the forums,
Yeah, sifted through the noise.
to pull out the core insights on, well, AI infrastructure growth, software breakthroughs, and this whole emerging world of AI agents. So let's just get right to it.
Sounds good. And today's news really does show some significant momentum, in the fundamental building blocks of AI.
Gotcha.
We're seeing real progress both in the physical capacity, the hardware to power AI, and in the intelligence of the software itself.
Okay, so starting with infrastructure, NVIDIA is leading the charge there. They've announced some pretty ambitious plans for the U.S.
That's right. Big plans over the next 4 years. They're talking about a potential $500 billion in investment.
$500 billion? Wow. What's the sort of potential impact of that kind of build out?
Well, if it happens like they project, you could see a huge expansion of the whole AI ecosystem here in the U.S.
Right.
NVIDIA's thinking hundreds of thousands of jobs, directly and indirectly, and maybe trillions in economic activity overall as businesses actually use this AI capacity.
Like laying the groundwork for, well, an AI-driven economy.
Kind of, yeah. Laying down the tracks, you could say.
And it's not just NVIDIA building it themselves, is it? We saw CoreWeave mentioned. They're providing access to the new NVIDIA chips.
Yeah, the Grace Blackwell processors. That's key because it makes that top-tier AI compute power more accessible.
So companies that can't afford their own massive data centers can still tap into it.
Exactly. It sort of democratizes access to the cutting edge, which could really spur innovation across the board.
Okay, so that's the hardware. What about the software side? NVIDIA's Llama Neutron Ultra model is getting attention.
It is. Artificial analysis recognized it as a top open source model for complex reasoning. Things like coding, scientific problems.
What makes it stand out? Is it just faster?
It's more about its accuracy on tasks needing deep logical thinking. And that really points to NVIDIA's combination of hardware design and their training methods.
Ah, right. Like that AI Mathematical Olympiad win they had.
Precisely. Their team came first out of over 2,000 teams globally. It shows they're serious about the foundational research, not just, cranking out chips. It's about making AI smarter.
So putting it together, NVIDIA seems to be playing both sides, building the physical infrastructure and advancing the AI software that runs on it.
That seems to be the strategy. Build the supercomputers domestically, enhance the software stack, all aimed at creating economic opportunities through these intelligent systems. A pretty comprehensive approach.
A central force, potentially.
Potentially, yes, creating that foundation.
Okay, let's shift gears to something, well, completely different but equally fascinating. Using AI to understand dolphin communication.
Yes, the Wild Dolphin Project. They've gathered this incredible amount of data, sounds recorded since 1985.
Wow, since 85.
And crucially, they've linked these sounds, clicks, whistles, burst pulses to specific dolphin behaviors they observed.
So what's the big challenge there? Just listening to it all.
Well, it's the sheer complexity. Dolphins have this rich acoustic language, and figuring out the patterns, the meaning, that's been a huge scientific effort for decades. WDP's dataset is the key raw material here.
And now AI comes in. Dolphin Gemma from Google.
Right. It uses something called sound stream tokenization. Basically, it turns those raw dolphin sounds into sequences that AI can analyze, kind of like how large language models process words.
Can you break down that tokenization bit? How does that work?
Imagine taking a continuous sound wave and breaking it into discrete units or tokens. Think of it like finding the words in the dolphin sounds. Once you have those units, AI can look for patterns, sequences, maybe even grammar.
Interesting. And they're actually testing this out in the ocean.
Yeah, using Google Pixel 6 phones right now to just listen and identify recurring sound patterns. They mentioned possibly using Pixel 9s later for more interactivity.
What's the ultimate goal? Just to listen better.
The immediate goal is finding consistent sound patterns linked to behaviors or situations, but longer term, they hope to build up a kind of shared vocabulary, maybe even use synthetic dolphin sounds to interact.
That sounds like the chat system they mentioned. Cetacean Hearing Augmentation Telemetry, developed with Georgia Tech.
Right, chat is a bit different. It's a two-way tool using synthetic whistles linked to things dolphins enjoy, like toys. They want to see if dolphins can learn to associate those artificial sounds with things.
So chat is more about trying to initiate a basic conversation, while Darf and Gemma is about decoding their existing communication.
That's a good way to put it. Chat is trying to establish a very basic interaction channel, testing learning and association. Dolphin Gemma is focused on understanding what they're already saying to each other.
And Google's planning to open source Dolphin and Gemma next year.
Summer of 2025, yeah. It's trained on Atlantic spotted dolphins, but the idea is other researchers could adapt it for different whales or dolphins.
Making it open source could really boost this whole field, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It gives marine biologists worldwide access to a powerful AI tool, potentially accelerating discoveries about all sorts of cetacean communication.
It really is amazing. Decades of fieldwork plus cutting-edge AI could change how we see interspecies communication.
It really could. It shows how AI can be this incredible tool for exploring the natural world. If folks want to learn more, the Wild Dolphin Project website has details.
Okay, let's pivot now to AI agents. This area is just exploding. Seems like there's news every day.
Definitely a hot topic. We're seeing rapid progress in what they can do, but also some real-world issues cropping up.
Right. On the capability side, one podcast, the agent use cases most ready for prime time, pointed out areas where they're already working well.
Yeah, things like customer service automation, coding help, sales agents, even voice-activated workflows and deep research tasks.
What's making them practical now?
They're getting better at doing specific jobs autonomously and efficiently. Often that frees up human workers for more complex stuff. So potential for better productivity, better service.
There's also talk on another podcast, MCP, and what AI engineers are thinking about the Model Context Protocol, featuring SWIX. What's MCP about?
MCP, the Model Context Protocol, is basically trying to standardize how these AI agents talk to external tools and data sources.
Why is standardization important there?
It helps build agents that can work together better, reliably pull in information, and use different tools effectively. It's about making them more robust and interoperable.
Okay, but then there's the concerning side. We saw that report from Italy about AI-generated images used by a political party.
Yes, the League Party. Opposition parties called the images racist, Islamophobic, and xenophobic, and filed a complaint.
That really highlights the potential for misuse, doesn't it? Spreading harmful content.
It absolutely does. It raises serious questions about responsibility, regulation, and how we handle AI-generated media, especially in politics, as these tools get easier to use.
And technically, agents are getting more complex too. Wired wrote about an AI agent with multiple models, even different personalities.
Right. That could make interacting with them feel more natural in some cases. But it also, brings up questions about transparency. Are people going to start thinking of these agents as more human than they are?
Blurring the lines.
Potentially, yeah.
We also saw ZDNet reporting on Copilot Studio getting a skill so agents can interact with websites and apps like a person would.
That's a significant step. It means they can automate a much wider range of tasks that involve clicking around on existing digital interfaces, things that needed a human before.
But then, the cautionary tale from Ars Technica, a company's AI support agent, just invented a fake policy.
Yeah, causing quite an uproar. That underlines a huge risk right now. AI hallucinations or just plain making things up.
So they still need careful checking.
Absolutely. Rigorous testing and validation are critical, especially if they're customer-facing or handling important information. It's still a major challenge.
Okay, moving into how businesses are using AI. Ted Sarandos from Netflix mentioned their teams using AI tools.
Yeah, for things like set references, pre-visualization, VFX, shot planning. He hopes AI can make movies, quote, 10% better.
Interesting. So AI is an efficiency tool, maybe enhancing creativity in fields like filmmaking.
That seems to be the idea. Assisting with visualization, smoothing out workflows, letting the human talent focus on the more artistic choices.
And we also saw reports, like from Bloomberg, about AI being used for sustainability, cutting carbon emissions.
Right. Things like calculating fuel-efficient driving routes or monitoring energy grid infrastructure for potential issues. It shows AI's potential isn't just commercial. It can tackle big global problems, too.
That's good to hear. On the hardware front again, Today in AI mentioned a U.S. Commerce Department investigation into semiconductor imports.
Yeah, looking at where chips are coming from, assessing domestic production, and considering potential trade measures for national security reasons.
It all comes back to the importance of those chips for AI, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's seen as strategically vital technology. Ensuring a strong domestic supply chain is a major focus.
And there's competition heating up there, too. AI News reported Huawei claiming its new Cloud Matrix supernode outperforms NVIDIA.
Right. More competition in the AI hardware space could be good news overall drive innovation, maybe bring down costs. It also shows this key tech isn't just dominated by one or two players anymore.
And finally, on the enterprise side, Google Cloud's next event showcased AI integration in their LODB database.
Yeah, AI Wire reported on that. They're using Gemini AI within something called Google Agent Space for searching structured data using natural language queries, and importantly, supporting that Model Context Protocol, MCP.
So AI is getting baked right into the database level now.
It looks that way. Merging AI and data management makes it easier for developers to build intelligent apps that can easily work with huge amounts of data. Supporting MCP helps with that agent interoperability we talked about.
Okay, let's touch briefly on the ethical side again and then open source. There was that Peter Singer AI chatbot.
Yes, designed to discuss ethical issues based on the philosopher Peter Singer's work.
What was interesting about its responses, do you think it was sentient?
No, it explicitly stated it wasn't sentient. And it argued that using a chatbot for ethical reflection could actually be justifiable as a tool to help people think through issues.
Like a philosophical sounding board.
Kind of. For example, on whether to tell a friend about a cheating partner, it focused on the friend's well-being and autonomy.
And it clarified Singer's views on things like famine relief.
Right. It explains Singer advocates for both immediate aid and addressing root causes like poverty through education and contraception, not just one or the other.
But ethics in AI isn't just philosophical chatbots. Bloomberg reported Google's AI overviews were echoing anti-abortion messages for some searches.
Yes, that's another example of real-world impact and the need for careful oversight of AI-generated summaries, especially on sensitive topics. It shows how biases in training data or algorithms can surface.
Definitely something to watch. Quickly then, open source and community stuff. Simon Willison mentioned a new Elm OpenAI plugin release.
Version 0.3, yeah, supports some new OpenAI models and adds an option to get back the reasoning summary from the API.
Why is getting the reasoning useful?
It helps developers understand how the model reached its answer, which is great for debugging and building trust, just gives more transparency.
And finally, that Reddit discussion about AI agents moving so fast. A repo updating every 30 seconds.
Yeah, someone on the AI agent subreddit pointed that out. It just highlights the absolutely breakneck speed of development and experimentation in the agent space right now. It's incredibly dynamic.
So wrapping up today's deep dive, it really paints a picture of intense activity across the board in AI.
It really does. From the massive infrastructure plans and the sophisticated software like Nematron Ultra.
To fascinating applications like trying to talk to dolphins.
Right, and then the whole fast-developing world of AI agents, the potential, the use cases, but also the real challenges and ethical flags popping up.
And it's all connected, isn't it? The infrastructure enables the software, which powers the applications and agents, and all of it raises these complex societal questions.
Exactly. You can't really separate them. Progress in one area fuels the others, for better or worse sometimes.
So maybe the thought to leave listeners with is, as AI weeds itself deeper into everything, how do we strike that balance? How do we push innovation forward while managing the risks responsibly, especially around communication, information, and, well, ethics?
That's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? Something we all need to keep thinking about.
Indeed. That's our deep dive for today. Thanks for tuning in.